literally like going into yesterday, Ohio State was playing the number 8 team in the country, going to CFP the week before. Georgia was number 4. It was almost like set up to be what it turned out to be. And
I don't think they set it up.
I mean, you were in the rooms there.
Yeah,
You know?
I don't think they set it. That doesn't happen.
I didn't mean intentionally,
Yeah,
but
yeah, no, it's just the issue is that you got two teams that are very close. We can make the argument, which I think is a good argument. We play 3 top 15 teams and back to back to back and won a championship. And but then you look at LSU and their metrics on the stats and the performance that they have. Their defense has improved. I can't remember what their defensive efficiency is now, but they improved. And so, so the reality is, it's a tough call. I don't know if there's an SEC bias in the room. I never witnessed that.
Yeah.
I just think that different people had different opinions, and everyone in that room has different criteria by which they make their decisions. And so I'm sure there was a lot of debate, and who knows what the vote was.
Yes,
Could have been 7-6.
Yeah. Schools, by the way, have been moving here recently. Penn State, Indiana, to lock up their coaches.
Yeah.
For a while.
Right.
How impressed are you with what Ryan has done to this point, and will that be a major focus at the end of this season?
Yeah, Ryan's done a hell of a job. He's, you guys know that. I'm preaching to the choir. You guys can just, it's kind of one of those things that's a moot question. So our biggest concern right now is getting our guys healthy and getting the coaches back home after being on the road and signing who we got to sign in December, and then how many ever we got coming in January, making sure they transition in.
Gene, you were in obviously the committee room, as you mentioned, and they talk all year about how it's body of work, body of
Yes,
work, body of
right,
work,
right.
all year, the whole thing,
Right.
right? How much can a room be swayed from your experience by the results of a single half or a single game?
No
And
question.
can the entire thinking of a room shift?
Sure.
And then how does that stay in line with the whole concept of body of work for
No
the whole
question.
year?
No question, Ari. And so that's a great question. This is probably what happened this weekend. Keep in mind, the committee is in there all weekend watching every game. Every single game. There's 4 TVs, and they're sitting in the room, and they're all watching games. And, Joe's watching his team, and he's probably over in the other room because he's so nervous, trying to get away from people. But that's literally what's happening. You're watching games. So you can't dismiss that. You can't say that's not a factor. They're human, just like I was human. And so you look at games and you develop an opinion of LSU versus Georgia and what they did. And you develop an opinion of Ohio State versus Wisconsin and what we did and how we did it. So individually you make a decision. So the body of work is still there. And when you go into the room and you discuss, you still have that body of work, and you discuss that, you have those metrics, but you still have the impression of what you just saw. I think is the answer to your question. It's still there. So how that individually plays, I don't know, but because every person has a different view of that. So yeah, it's a factor.
Hey,
Gene,
it's been a little over a year since you've hired Ryan to be head coach. Has anything about him or his first season surprised you?
I told him, throwing a blank, Team Up North game, I told him after that game, I hugged him on the field. I said, damn, you aggressive, brother. And, we were I forgot where it was. We were running the rock. I mean, we were like, I was watching our boys up front. I mean, what an offensive line we have. When they put it together and they figure it out, they're knocking people out. And so that game, they were starting to knock them out. And I'm like, just give the boy the rock, and he's like throwing 40-yard passes. I mean, and so I knew he had that, but we saw it on full display. We saw it on full display at the championship game. How many of you thought that he was going to throw a fake punt? Remember back to the onside kick? Now, he had told me that, showed me that on film, that we got a shot. I just didn't think he was going to do it. And particularly at the time he did it. I mean, I love the fact that he's aggressive. That's something that I learned. I thought he had, but I didn't know it, right? We saw it on full display this season. He's an aggressive guy. I love that.
Gene, when
Take
you
the risk. Take the risk.
we asked a lot of the players about this, the 2016 game when you guys lost to Clemson 31-0.
Painful.
Did that feel like any kind? You guys were such a good program. You're only 2 years removed from the national title,
Right.
but did that feel like a moment to you of like we're really good, but this showed us how we need to get better? Was it a reset? And then Ryan comes in a week later. Was that a reset for this program at all in any
I
way?
think that game, I think a number of bowl games showed us that we needed to elevate our game in recruiting. And, the Florida loss, the LSU loss, and the Clemson loss, we needed to change our perspective and look at different positions differently. So we've done that. I mean, this team has that. Urban contributed to that shift. He and I candidly talked about that, and Ryan has done that as well. If things go well for December 18th, he continues that. But then the development of that. I mean, Sean Wade. Wow. I mean, wow. I mean, anywhere else he'd be the starting corner. And so you just we can go around the room, right? Just pick them. But yeah, that's we've changed a lot since that time.
Gene, did you enjoy being able to advocate for Ohio State this year instead of having to stay objective being on the committee?
The hardest thing for me was not calling my colleagues on the committee. I wanted to yesterday so bad, and just text them. But I knew it wouldn't mean nothing because they all hide their phones. But yeah, it's a relief. I don't have to worry about what I say in that regard, and but I'm conscious of what they go through. That's the benefit that I have is, I know how hard it is. I mean, people, those of you who may have gone through the mock can appreciate how hard it is. It's not easy, and we try and make it look easy, but it's not easy. And it's a huge responsibility. So, but to your point, Dan, yeah, I love the fact that I can just say that we should have been number one. I wish we were number one, but I get it.
Gene, I know that this might seem like a weird question, so forgive me, but when you start talking about like the players that are on this team and the depth of talent that you just alluded to, there was a shift in the way that Ohio State ran its football program when Urban Meyer took over.
That's right.
7 years ago. I'm wondering, on a day like today, when you're facing a team like Clemson, or days in previous past when you're facing teams that are this talented, how has that shifted your mentality of how aggressive and how much money can be spent in the recruiting game, and how has this program evolved even in the playoff era in terms of just what you guys are willing to do and what extent you're willing to do to recruit at a highest level possible?
No question. It's interesting because when you look at when you mention the dollars, the dollar spent is based upon location, geography. We're blessed to be in Ohio, right? So at a great airport where we have good connections and things of that nature. So our travel costs might be less than Nebraska's because of geography, right? And so when you look at recruiting costs, it is, it's a little different. But to your question, it's more about your focus and intent. So we didn't recruit as national as we are now. We didn't. We are recruiting nationally, like there's no tomorrow now. I think we'll have 2 guys in California next week, and then one from New York to California, so we'll have 3. That never happened before. And so, why? I mean, so to your point, our focus has changed. We're more national. We definitely want to keep Ohio strong. Gotta lock it up, but our numbers aren't what they used to be. So it's a different shift. We'll spend the money, to your question, if we have to. But it's talent. You gotta have talent, and we're at a level now where I feel comfortable playing at Clemson or Alabama or whoever because we have the ability to play them from a talent perspective.
Not to disparage the past, but would that have been the same thing in 2011? Meaning, like, you're comfortable playing Clemson, would you have pause?
I can't remember. I'm too old, man. Who was
One
on
or
the
two
team
more
in
questions.
11?
Speaking of that, though, you guys lost to Clemson, a great Orange Bowl, back in 2013. They've been on a ridiculous ride since then, almost. How impressed are you by what they've done, and what's just stood out about it to you?
No, phenomenal. First and foremost, they got great coaches. I mean, and and they have support from the institution to do what they need to do. I haven't seen those facilities, but I heard a lot about them, and those facilities are where the players train and feel comfortable. And so, great AD, Dan Radakovich is a good friend. I know he gets it, and he's a football guy. So no, I'm impressed. I like their culture. I like what they stand for, the values they have in their program. They do a great job.
Does Dabo have a legitimate beef that they were kind of overlooked this year from a maybe underrated, or whatever you want to call it? You know, you've heard it. You know what I'm talking about. I mean,
I didn't see his rant,
Yeah.
but I heard about it, and you know, he's in the game.
Yeah.
You know, he's in the Final Four. So at the end of the day, you gotta play.
One more
What's
big.
impressed you about Ryan Day as a motivator, and how does that come into play here in the next?
I think when you look back over each week, and I think he's really done a good job of understanding his team and the individuals of the team and how they think and react. You know, I remember one team we were playing that, you know, we were having a conversation, and he said, you know, Gene, I can't lie to them. They see the tape, right? So you can't get up there and say these guys are world beaters. Oh my God, we gotta So you gotta tell them the truth, and then you have to come up with a different strategy to keep them going. And he's done that excellently. You guys know better than me how many games we had our first teams out in the first half. How do you keep them going? And he's done a great job of that. So a difficult assignment. I hugged J.K. Dobbins somewhere in the middle of the season and said, look, I'm so proud of you because if you kept playing, you'd already have 2,000 yards. And I'm proud of him and how he accepted what was going on for the team and sacrificed that opportunity. You know, Ryan Day's helped create that culture, and not just with the team, but the individual. Create the behavior with the individual, then you got the culture. Phenomenal job, phenomenal at all levels.
Last big picture question. There obviously have been critiques of the playoff system in the 6 years. What would the situation be right now if we were still in the BCS era?
We'd be playing LSU.
You kind of answered that quickly.
One
The way-
versus two.
The
be
way
playing-
pollsters used to vote, with Clemson being the defending national champion, and their reluctance to move people down sometime,
Yeah, that might be true.
I think
That
it
might
could
be
have
true.
gotten hairy. But when did it
That's true.
stunk?
That's true.
When there's 3 teams this good?
Mm-hmm.
The
You know, this
BCS
is
would have been
probably-
terrible.
That's a good question, but let's ask that another way. This is interesting because the CFP doesn't have a lot of history yet, right?
Right.
But however, we might be in that moment. Who's number 5 right now?
Yes, Georgia.
We got any debate?
I knew you were leading to that. I mean, that's, yeah.
I'm trying to think of a year in the CFP.
Oh, where there was
Every
a
year,
debate between
number
4 and
5,
5.
there was a debate.
No, there's no debate.
There's no debate this year.
Is this our first time?
Yes, maybe.
Yeah. You guys the last 2 years, you know. previous 2.
This is our first time, so we're developing history. I don't know, that's a great
Yeah.
question about the BCS, but it's interesting. You made me think about this is the first
This is a
time that
pretty
we
good
don't
four,
have a
yeah.
debate on the 4.
Right. But a lot of people look at that as just happenstance, you know?
Right.
I mean,
Certainly wasn't 16.
But-
There wasn't.
I mean, it's a change.
Yeah.
I mean, every time you talk about going to 8, you know, in my mind, you're always gonna have a beef because number 9's not in.
Right.
This might be our first moment. I don't know what that means. But to your question, you know, BCS, you're right, it's Clemson might
I
be
think
Clemson,
there was,
LSU, who knows?
I'm envisioning a scenario where in the old system, I think it would be possible that you guys would have left out.
Yeah, it's possible.
Because the SEC is the SEC,
Possible.
for good and for bad,
That's true.
and Clemson's the defending champ,
possible.
and you
Possible.
guys,
It's possible.
Which
But
would've
thank God we're in, and
been-
my wife just
Yep,
walked out.
we gotta wrap it up, man. Thank